Part 20. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 192. After Old Gray gave Rudolph a direction, Rudolph rushed to the wilderness. In the sky, a group of owls were scattered to search for intelligence. Rudolph flew close to the ground, and the woods and hills below him quickly retreated. Even if he encountered scattered werewolves, he didn't care. After flying for a while, Rudolph was a little confused. These werewolves seemed to be too many. Not only were there more werewolves, but the druids were also active. Those druids seemed to be planting trees outside the farm, which made Rudolph very strange. After receiving Cooper, Rudolph wanted to observe and see what kind of trees the druids were planting. In a forest, a figure with vines wrapped around one hand and another person in the other arm was moving quickly in the forest like a swing. On the ground, a level 3 werewolf with 4 or 5 level 2 werewolves was desperately chasing the two people on the tree trunk. Cooper was caught by a level 2 druid corpse and fled on a tree. He stared at the level 3 werewolf that appeared and disappeared behind him with despair. Werewolves have great physical strength. When a pack of wolves hunts, they often rely on long-term pursuit to exhaust the prey's physical strength and kill the prey alive. Cooper is that prey. The level 3 werewolf is very patient. What makes Cooper feel bad is that he is being driven by the werewolves, getting farther and farther away from the town. He is moving deeper into the wilderness. The deeper he goes into the wilderness, the more he feels that there is only endless darkness around him. Level 2 druids can manipulate vines. Vines fall from the tree trunks one by one. The druids skillfully turn between the vines and take Cooper to the distance. How far the druid corpse can run depends on how much zombie power Cooper has in his body. Unfortunately, the zombie power in his body is almost exhausted. When he falls to the ground, he will be torn to pieces by the wolves. Is he going to die here? Just when Cooper was getting more and more desperate, suddenly a black shadow flew past him. An owl. At this moment, Cooper thought a lot, owl, how great it would be if it was that person's owl. However, I heard that the person fled from Lehman Town, and I don't know where he fled to. Just when Cooper thought it wouldn't be such a coincidence, this owl flew in the woods and followed Cooper all the time. Normal owls would have flown away without a trace when there were werewolves around, but the owl above his head not only did not go far, but was obviously staring at Cooper below with not very flexible eyes. A glimmer of hope ignited in Cooper's heart. Could it really be such a coincidence? Could he really be the chosen one, and every time he was on the verge of death, someone would come to save him at the right time? But where is Rudolph? Cooper lowered his head and began to search for Rudolph. Just as he lowered his head, a low roar suddenly woke him up. At some point, the level 3 werewolf had jumped onto the tree trunk. He looked down from above and pounced on Cooper. Zombies themselves have no fighting power, even worse than wizards. Wizards have no magic weapons but still have magic. If they use magic well, they are also very powerful. Zombies can rely on sewing thread to replace the bodies of other apostles, but Cooper still cannot accept this approach, so his body is still the appearance of ordinary people before. At the same time as the level 3 werewolf pounced down, there were 3 level 2 werewolves pounced up from below. Cooper was a little desperate for a while. He knew that his only level 2 corpse, a level 2 druid, could not deal with these werewolves. Just when Cooper was lucky and called Rudolph in his heart, his face was suddenly illuminated by purple flames. Several fireballs fell from the sky like meteorites. If he counted correctly, Cooper saw 8 fireballs, each one was as high as a person. The fireballs hit the werewolves accurately. The level 2 werewolf was directly engulfed by the fireball. The purple flame was very contagious. In just a moment, the level 2 werewolf was covered with dazzling purple flames. Among the 8 fireballs, 4 were aimed at the level 3 werewolf. The pupils of the level 3 werewolf were illuminated by purple. He knew that these fireballs were extremely dangerous. Without caring about attacking the zombies, the level 3 werewolf twisted his waist and waved his claw blade at several purple fireballs. Several claw blade phantoms hit the fireballs and scattered them. Cooper was suddenly disappointed. Did these fireballs have no effect on the level 3 werewolf? However, the level 3 werewolf didn't think so. In addition to the direct attack of the fireball, the witchcraft of splitting purple fire also has another function, which is to create poisonous smoke. The clawblade phantom is indeed very strong, but after scattering the fireball, it cannot prevent the poisonous smoke from spreading around. Almost in an instant, the lavender poisonous smoke has enveloped everyone in the air. A severe toxin suddenly appeared in the body of the level 3 werewolf, and even the level 3 werewolf's physique could not resist it. When the second wave of attacks fell, the level 3 werewolf had lost the ability to resist. The pupils of the level 3 werewolf were full of despair, and several claw blade shadows fell in his field of vision. It was impossible for another level 3 werewolf to attack him, so there was only one possibility: it was a wizard. Combined with the poisonous fire witchcraft just now, it was still a scorpion wizard. Under the paralysis toxin, the level 3 werewolf had no resistance. A figure fell, and at the moment of landing, the bat wings shrank slightly, and Rudolph stood lightly on the ground. Behind him, there was another level 3 werewolf who fell together, but the level 3 werewolf had been cut into 9 pieces. The body parts fell to the ground one after another, and fell to the ground with a thud. Cooper and his zombie druid also breathed a sigh of relief. In a moment of carelessness, the two of them fell heavily to the ground. Rudolph looked at Cooper while adjusting his clothes that had some wrinkles. Compared with the elegant Rudolph, Cooper is much more embarrassed. Cooper's clothes were in tatters, exposing the sutures on his abdomen. It could be seen that he must have suffered a serious injury before. Rudolph shook his head and said to Cooper, "Cooper, you shouldn't touch this female druid." Cooper knew that if anyone knew that he had turned a female druid elder into a living corpse, he would be wanted. He quickly explained, "I didn't kill her. She died at the mouth of a werewolf, and I secretly made her into a living corpse after her death. I lost too much of my collection, and I had no choice but to do so. Moreover, Rudolph, you are an exposed wizard. Why do you still care about me choosing the 3 apostles?" Rudolph shook his head. "You are mistaken, I am not in charge of the 3 apostles chosen by God. I mean, I didn't expect you, Cooper, with his thick eyebrows and big eyes, to find yourself a female druid as a companion, and she was also a living druid corpse." Rudolph raised his chin and pointed at the female druid. "Druids have very few clothes. Male druids usually only wear a skirt, and female druids wear a tube top. Cooper's female druid looks like she is in her 20s. The key is that the clothes on her body have completely disappeared, and her appearance and skin are still the same as when she just died. It's indecent, do all of you living zombies play with such harsh words?" Cooper looked at Druid's appearance and suddenly understood what Rudolph was talking about. "Rudolph. Slander. You slander me. I will kill you." Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 193. Rudolph said, "On the way here, I saw many druids busy. Did the druid see you using the druid living corpse?" "It hasn't been seen, right? It's only been a week since I found this druid's body, and it's still being chased by werewolves. You should give up this collection, otherwise not only will the werewolf kill you, but the druid will not let you go. It's not that you are afraid of God's chosen apostle, but that you should avoid trouble." "I refuse. This is my last collection and my last sense of security. Old Gray asked me to come to you." Rudolph raised his cane and placed it on Cooper's shoulder. "I will send you to Old Gray. I will be your sense of security. No, this is the last insistence of the living corpse. Without a corpse, the living corpse is like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered." Rudolph shook his head. it didn't make sense to reason. He turned his cane and touched the forehead of the living druid corpse. Cooper found in despair that he had completely lost control of the druid. Rudolph has level 3 living corpse teeth, and his control over corpses is stronger than Cooper's. Cooper asked angrily, "You have always possessed such a high-level living corpse witchcraft, why didn't Old Grey deal with you?" "I don't know. Some people are the protagonists and there's nothing they can do about it. Why do I feel that after you were exposed, you became more relaxed and let yourself go? It's kind of like this. Breaking the jar, and no longer having any restrictions. I'm quite happy." "Then you're not afraid of the tribunal? There are people above us. What am I afraid of in this small trial court?" Cooper was about to ask why there was someone above him, when he saw a vampire suddenly appeared next to Rudolph and began to collect the relics of the werewolf just now on Rudolph's behalf. Vanya, the blood traitor, caused great harm to the town of Lehman, and Cooper knew him. Since the birth of Vanya, Vanya has done a lot of physical work, while Rudolph himself stands aside with his hands behind his back. "Do you know who is elegant?" Seeing Cooper's surprised eyes, Rudolph said, "Lazy people are the most elegant, and people who are qualified to be lazy are the most elegant. Do you think my level 3 vampire is better than your 0-level vampires? Are the fragmented corpses much more advanced?" Cooper had nothing to say, he was cursing and envious in his heart. Soon, the werewolf's relics were collected, and Vanya came to Rudolph's side and disappeared into the palm of Rudolph's raised hand. The wizard in front of him became more and more terrifying. Cooper was still thinking about how to ask Rudolph for a level 2 werewolf corpse, but now this idea disappeared. "Let's go back to Lemon Town." Rudolph grabbed Cooper and jumped into the sky. On the way back to town, Rudolph had time to pay attention to the changes on the farm. Looking from the sky, the ground is cut into squares by rows of trees. He hadn't been to the outskirts of Lehman Town for a long time, and he didn't even know that so many changes had taken place in the outskirts of Lehman Town. Inside the square are fields, and on the edge of the square are rows of trees, as if these rows of trees are protecting the fields. After landing on the ground, Rudolph walked into these trees. The tree rows are 3 trees wide and divide the farmland into squares approximately 1 kilometer square. These rows of trees act like fences, enclosing farmland. Rudolph walked into the tree row and found a lot of aconitum planted on the ground between the 3 trees. Aconitum is one of the auxiliary materials for making wolfsbane potion. It is said that the first werewolf and the distant ancestor of werewolves, Corvinus, was become a werewolf on a hillside covered with aconite. Cooper explained on the side. "I heard that a bard druid came from the druid tribe. The bard druid learned more advanced techniques from the larger druid tribe and began to teach the local druid tribe how to use this technique. Tree columns come to fight the werewolves. The farmland is arranged in the tree rows. The tree rows can detect werewolves and can also automatically attack werewolves." Rudolph looked up and saw that there were rows of trees all around the 1 kilometer square farmland. Starting from the edge, if you want to enter the core of the farm, you have to pass through at least a dozen rows of trees. If each row of trees has a certain protective capacity, it will provide very good protection for the farm. Find a place and let's observe the function of these rows of trees. Rudolph flew further away to see if any werewolves were attacking the farm at night. After turning on the level 3 sensing wolf eyes, Rudolph can clearly distinguish battles taking place in the distance. In the dark night, a tribe of werewolves is heading towards the farm. This werewolf tribe is not big, just a werewolf tribe of level 1 werewolves. A level 1 werewolf with a dozen wolf servants. As soon as the werewolf entered the tree line, he saw that the aconite grass under his feet was suddenly stimulated and began to shrink. The aconite sent out a signal, and the trees in the tree column suddenly came to life. This is a druid's natural spell, a natural spell that can animate trees. Among the trees, the tree in the middle was responsible for close combat. There were thick burl on the trunk of this tree. These burl fell like a heavy hammer, hitting the backs of the wolf servants. The trees on both sides can throw out spear-like thorns. There are so many trees in the tree column that the thorns shoot at the werewolf from different angles. Many wolf servants were stabbed by tree thorns and lay on the ground wailing. It's a wonderful natural magic, but what is the source of energy for these trees to fight? Can they be maintained just by sunlight and soil? Cooper nodded, I don't know. Anyway, these tree rows are very useful. The local druid tribe is learning this new natural spell. Rudolph focused on observing level 1 werewolves. These tree rows also have a good harassing effect on level 1 werewolves. It took a lot of effort for the level 1 werewolf to break through the first tree row and enter the first field. All the trees around this field came alive and shot thorns toward the center. When the level 1 werewolf arrived at the second tree row with wounds all over his body, he found that the trees here were even taller. Moreover, a larger tree appeared in the tree row at a certain distance. The trunk of this tree was very thick, with a diameter of more than 2 meters. The thorns shot out from this tree were as thick as a human arm. As the favorite of the goddess of nature, the natural spell of the druid was very powerful. At the same time, Rudolph heard the sound of a horn. In the second layer of tree rows, some trees that could make horn sounds were arranged. If a werewolf rushed to the second layer of tree rows, these horn trees would issue a warning. If the level 1 werewolf was not hit in the head, he would not be killed. And no matter how powerful the trees created by the natural spell were, it was difficult for them to be smart enough to automatically attack the werewolf's head. With the horn tree used for warning, the design becomes very, very perfect. If Rudolph is the farmer, he will wait for the werewolf to fight with the second layer of trees for a while, and then come out to find a way to smash the werewolf's head. Sure enough, after a while, someone came out from the farm to do the finishing work. Rudolph looked at the next dozen or so tree rows with interest. I am very interested in meeting the bard druid and understanding how this amazing tree row was made. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 194. Aren't we going to Lehman Town yet? I have a lot of questions for Old Gray. Faced with Cooper's question, Rudolph said, I have more interesting things now. Let's see what the druids are doing first. Cooper now has no collection, so he does not have the confidence to return to Lehman Town on his own. While walking among the trees, Rudolph suddenly turned around and asked him, Cooper, where is your circus? Buried in a secret place. I will go and get my circus back after I have gathered enough collections again. Rudolph felt that something was missing. It turned out that he had not seen Cooper's circus. He comforted him by saying, let me study these trees and we'll go back right now. This kind of defense method that does not require much worry and can automatically replenish energy is simply a weapon in the wilderness. Just when Rudolph was studying the tree array, he came across a farm where a druid was promoting the tree array to the farmer. The druid standing at the front had a melodious voice. Hills, valleys, dark, low-hanging woods, different shades of green, speckled with weeds. A low brown farmhouse sits in a corner, swaying leaves rustle in the breeze. The girls rolled up their sleeves to mow the grass, a whistle blew, the horses began to plow the fields, and the herdsmen scolded the cows that came to interfere. All these, the views of the fields near and far, were near to my eyes. This was such an ecstasy that words cannot express it. How could such beautiful farmland be so easily destroyed by werewolves? The goddess of nature has noticed this place. The druids here are always in danger or even die, and the farmland here is always trampled. On behalf of goddess nature, I will reprotect the farmland here. The druid was holding a white cloth bag in his hands. When the cloth bag was opened, it contained some plant seeds. He scattered the seeds into the sky, and the seeds fluttered in the wind and flew far away. Soon after, seeds fell on the ground from near to far, and soon, big trees broke out of the ground. That's how the rows of trees that protect the farm were planted. O seed full of vitality, please bring the blessing of the goddess of nature. Amidst the cheers of the farmers, a phalanx of trees 1 kilometer square appeared quickly. If the werewolf wants to destroy this farmland, he will pay a heavy price in the future. Cooper whispered in Rudolph's ear, "This is the Bard Druid. He has been very famous on the farm recently. But what is his purpose? Rudolph, don't you believe there are good people in the world? Can't this druid just do it for the farm?" Rudolph shook his head. "There are good people in this world, but when good people get together, they are not necessarily good people. Of course there are individual good druids, and there are many of them. But I don't believe that the druids used such good defensive weapons just to feel sorry for the werewolves who trampled on the flowers and plants in the farmland." Rudolph moved forward and saw other druids holding flower baskets and selling seeds. Fortunately, this was not the cuckoo tribe or elk tribe that Rudolph often visited, otherwise someone would have recognized Rudolph immediately. A druid asked, "Sir, what level of blessing seeds do you need?" "What level of blessing seeds are there?" "Level 1 blessing seeds can fight against level 1 werewolves. Level 2 blessing seeds can fight against level 2 werewolves," the druid said. "If you want level 3 blessing seeds, we can also provide you with a larger blessing seed." The druid tribe applied for it. Rudolph found it a little scary. These blessing seeds were like the alchemist's alchemy weapons and could also be used by ordinary people, and their levels could be increased step by step. "So, can I know if such blessing seeds have any side effects?" Druid couldn't help but frown when he heard Rudolph's question. At this time, the Bard Druid that Cooper said walked towards here. "Hello sir, your question is very good. The trees grow upward, full of vitality, with green leaves and white flowers. All these good things need their roots to sink deep into the ground." The Bard Druid's voice is still like reciting poetry. "Blessed seeds also need nutrients, and nutrients come from the land. The fertility of farmland will be reduced as a result. When farms fertilize their fields, they also need to fertilize their tree rows. But it's all worth it, isn't it?" Rudolph nodded. "It's really worth it. Let me buy some seeds and take them back to try. If the effect is good, I will ask the nearby druid tribe for more seeds." "Kind druid, what is your name?" Rudolph saw this druid holding an oak cane. This druid named Doom was probably a level 3 druid. After leaving here, Rudolph found a deserted hillside and planted blessing seeds here. A blessing seed is a tree row 1 kilometer square. He didn't have the ability of a druid, so it took these seeds half a day to slowly grow into a complete tree row, but this was amazing enough. A group of sparrows landed among the trees. The sparrows felt very comfortable. However, in the center of the tree array, Rudolph saw that some plants began to dry up and die. It seemed that the nutrients had been absorbed by the tree array. If you want to grow crops in a square array of trees, you will need to supplement a lot of nutrients and fertilizers. Cooper was a little confused. "Rudolph, what are you doing?" "What the knight wants is the ultimate strength of the cavalry, which is to say, human essence and blood. What the alchemist wants is minerals and metals, which is to say, wealth. I don't believe that the druid doesn't ask for something." Cooper shook his head. "You are too stubborn. You are not a good person, so you think there are no good people in the world. How does that saying go? In the eyes of streetwalkers, no woman can't be sold. If there is, it's just because the price is not agreed." "What?" Rudolph asked Cooper with a smile, thinking of streetwalkers. "This is normal. I think you should be given some gender education to prevent you from being with corpses every day and going astray." "I didn't go astray. The female druid's body was just torn because of the fierce battle." Rudolph smiled and shook his head, and he looked down at his pocket watch. The sparrows took off one after another and flew in the direction they felt most comfortable. Soon, the sparrows flew over a large field and landed outside a valley. At this time, there were many small animals outside the valley: wild cats, rabbits, and sparrows. In the valley, there is a towering tree, an oak tree. The tree is so tall, up to 50 meters, and very thick, with a huge crown. The tree row has a certain relationship with the tree. The sparrows feel the power of nature on the tree row, and also feel a stronger power of nature on the big oak tree. The sparrows are very attached to the tree. The sparrows landed not far from the oak tree, greedily sniffing the fragrance in the air. Rudolph saw a group of druids sitting under the tree. At this moment, a pair of eyes in Rudolph's pet crystal suddenly looked at Rudolph through the crystal. With a snap, Rudolph hurriedly closed his pocket watch. The level 3 druid, the druid named discovered Rudolph's pet. This magic weapon, in front of the level 3 druid, is indeed useless and will be discovered instantly. It is possible that the farmer nourishes the trees that grow from the blessed seeds, and the trees are equivalent to a nutrient collector. These nutrients are finally gathered to this oak tree through some natural magic. The oak tree is the source of power for the druids. Maybe it won't be long before we can see the druids with greatly increased strength. Cooper thinks Rudolph is a psychopath. He always thinks that there is a conspiracy behind any behavior of others. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 195. When he returned to Lehman Town, still in the cemetery, Rudolph met Old Gray and Claude. There is always a cold wind blowing in the cemetery, and the master and apprentice, Old Gray and Cooper in the distance, don't know what they are talking about. Claude also just came back from the city. He stood with Rodolfo, looking at the town of Lehman in the distance. Rudolph said. Level 3 werewolves appeared on the outskirts of Lehman Town, which is far beyond the limit that Lehman Town can deal with. The characteristic of werewolves is that they either don't appear, or they appear in a pack. In the future, there will be more and more level 3 werewolves outside Lehman Town. Sheriff, it is a very special situation for a level 3 alchemist like you to be a sergeant. Normally, the sergeant of a police station is only a level 2 apostle at most. You have now become the deputy chief of the city police department and cannot be permanently stationed in Lemon Town. The Alchemy Council needs to increase its support for the outlying towns, otherwise, a level 3 werewolf will eventually break through all defenses and rush into the town, and by then it will be too late. After hearing Rudolph's report, Claude just kept shaking his head and frowning. It's impossible. The County Alchemy Council is not prepared to give Fabro City any extra resources. It's impossible to send a level 3 alchemist to each outer town. We can only rely on ourselves for everything. After thinking for a moment, Claude walked towards Old Gray. Come into the house. Old Gray was interrupted from his conversation with his disciple, and now he was asked to enter the room. He was even more unhappy. Claude, don't use the word enter the room casually. Who knows if your taste is special, change. Claude did not respond, and said to Rudolph, Rudolph, you come into the house too. Chief, could you please stop using the word enter the house? I also feel physically uncomfortable. Cooper and Sam looked at each other outside the house, wondering what the 3 people inside were going to do. The smell in the Gravekeeper's cabin was damp and musty, and I don't know how Old Gray could bear it. Claude said. Old Gray, I think Cooper also told you that there are level 3 werewolves outside Lemon Town. The captain of the town police station is now Baby. With his ability, he is not enough to fight against the level 3 werewolf. I will go to the city again and try my best to persuade the city council to find a good solution for the safety of these outer towns. However, in my absence, I hope you can watch over Lehman Town for a while. Gray Sr., my father, and you formed a drunken alliance decades ago, and now that alliance is going to work. I wonder if you still remember the promise you made while drunk. Alliance. Is there another alliance in Lehman that Rudolph doesn't know about? What kind of alliance can a small town of Lehman have? Old Gray's face looked a little ugly. At the beginning, everyone was forced to hide in this remote town due to the pressure of the tribunal. Do you mean that we have to protect this town of Lehman on behalf of the Alchemy Council? For the heretics hiding in remote towns, if they do not cause great damage, the tribunal will not waste its efforts to arrest them. Now Lehman town is in danger and we need your help. This worthless remote town should be abandoned. This is really the style of the Alchemy Council. If you scold the Alchemy Council in person that they are all a bunch of jackasses, the Alchemy Council will not do anything. But if you want to interfere with the interests of the Alchemy Council, you will really kill the Alchemy Council. Claude asked seriously, so, are you willing? After hesitating, Old Gray said, I'll ask a few of them. But, I have a condition. What conditions? Let Rudolph also join us. If he is not driven away by you, if he still stays in Lehman town, he will join us sooner or later. Claude looked at Rudolph and asked, Rudolph, are you willing to guard Lehman town at this time? Rudolph nodded without hesitation, yes. But, what is the name of the alliance? Old Gray did not answer directly. I will tell you when the time comes. Before I know the exact order of the council, I will rely on you first. Claude looked very bad. In fact, Fabro City is not having a good time now. There are werewolves outside, vampires inside, and everywhere. It's a hole. Old Gray said, the preservation of vampires in Fabro City more than 100 years ago was a failure and should have been cleaned up long ago. Who made the Alchemy Council only have money in its eyes and only want to mine iron ore as soon as possible? Claude couldn't refute. He shook his head and left the cemetery, followed by Rudolph. He didn't want to go to the town for the time being. After thinking about it, he walked towards the Jazz Castle. To Rudolph's surprise, there were surprisingly few people in the Jazz Castle. Hiding away from everyone, Rodolfo knocked on Jennifer's bedroom door. The bedroom door opened and Jennifer was surprised to see Rodolfo. 2 hours later, Rudolph was lying on the big bed exhausted, and Jennifer was still in high spirits. Jennifer, let me rest for a while. I regret helping you become a level 2 knight. When you were a level 1 knight, we were evenly matched. Now that you are a level 2 knight, I actually have to admit that I need to rest. How can a man say he can't do it? How about I help you get some medicine? Medicine? I don't need medicine. I am a wizard. Just wait for me for a while and I will find a way to improve my physique. After a few jokes, Rudolph got down to business. Jennifer, why are there so few people in Jazz Castle? Jazz Castle is moving. Where to move? Gazé Town. Rudolph instantly thought of a possibility. Gazé Town? Could it be the Baron's castle? Jennifer nodded. Yes. After the last city council's issue on the dangerous criminal gangs, Viscount Savin found me and discussed with me the possibility of letting me inherit the Baron of Gazé Town. I am the granddaughter of Baron Hockham and have the right of inheritance. Hayden is dead, and I am a level 2 knight, so with the support of Viscount Savin, I will inherit the title of Baron of Gazé Town. Rudolph also wanted to ask what Jennifer was going to do if Lehman Town became increasingly dangerous, but now it seems that there is no need to worry. Gazé Town has the Baron's Castle and Thor mining, which is much safer than Lehman Town. Jennifer moved away with the last group of people from the Jazz Castle, and Rudolph lived alone in the empty Jazz Castle. 2 nights later, dozens of kilometers away from Lehman Town, a huge pack of wolves rushed at night, stirring up high dust. The wolf pack was endless and there was no end in sight. A rough estimate is that there are at least thousands of them. This is a huge werewolf tribe that only level 5 werewolves have. A red wolf stood on the hillside beside the wolf pack, followed by several level 4 werewolves. The level of the red wolf is higher than that of the level 4 werewolves, and the red wolf's eyes are looking in the direction of Fabreau City. Let's go, werewolves can't be absent from this feast. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 196. The werewolves, like a tide, flooded the hills and grasslands. The level 3 werewolf in the front saw the druid's guardian tree row, howled to the sky, and countless werewolves behind him stopped. Hundreds of werewolves just stopped. The wolves were whimpering, and they were trembling with excitement. Is this a boring method of the druid? This is a farm at the outermost edge of Lehman Town. Outside the fields of the farm are a square array of tree rows. The druid's tree row can only deal with level 1 and level 2 werewolves. In front of the level 3 werewolves, it is just a slightly troublesome thorn. More importantly, the level 3 werewolf is just a pioneer. Behind him, there are more than 500 werewolves of all levels. In a valley in the distance, under the tree of nature, the wandering druid suddenly opened his eyes from sleep. What's going on? On the tree of nature, the leaves turned yellow and fell. These fallen leaves danced in the air, but no druid would think there was any beauty in this. Every fallen leaf means that there are trees dying in the tree row that grew from the blessed seeds. So many fallen leaves prove that there is a tree row in the distance that is being destroyed quickly. Dozens, hundreds of leaves, no matter how many leaves there are on the natural tree, it can't withstand such falling. The natural tree that was just planted, which is obviously still very young, is it going to be bald? Someone is attacking the tree row on a large scale. This tree was just planted by ERM in the elk tribe. The elder of the elk tribe, Wukir, hurriedly said, I will send a war eagle to see. The elk tribe has some giant war eagles, which are the natural partners that the druids have obtained after generations of cultivation. After hearing the special horn, 2 war eagles fell from the sky. At first, only 2 black spots could be seen. When they got closer, they found that the wingspan of these war eagles reached 5 meters. Wukir sat on the war eagle, respected ERM, I will go to see what happened first. Soon, Wukir and another druid flew into the sky. Alma looked at the sky worriedly. The cuckoo tribe had disappeared and completely merged with the elk tribe. The growing tribe made their lives better. The wandering druid brought the most advanced natural trees and tree rows. They originally thought that the druid tribe would be more powerful from now on, but the natural tree was greatly damaged. Vulture flew into the night sky, holding a longbow in his hand, looking down at the black earth. Occasionally, there were lights on in the houses of the farms, and there were rectangular tree rows around the farms. The closer he got to the wilderness, the more frightened Vulture was, because he felt the panic of the animals. The oppression of a large group of predators made countless small animals shrink in the caves in fear. This kind of hiding will not last long, and the predators will find them quickly. Soon, Vulture flew to the scene of the incident. Countless werewolves, estimated to be hundreds of werewolves, are forming a long attack line, breaking the trees on the tree rows one by one. The automatic attack of the tree row can cause damage to the werewolves, but it is not enough for the large number of werewolves. Only the careless werewolves will be pierced in the head by the tree thorns and die in pain. And his death will not arouse the sympathy of other werewolves, but will only be met with laughter. The war eagle carried Wukil across the sky, and Wukil's face became more and more ugly. In addition to the number, Wukil also saw some werewolves with larger bodies, which were level 3 werewolves. Without hesitation, Wukil took out the druid horn and blew it in the sky. Another druid did the same, took out a horn, and issued a distant horn together. Hearing this horn, the werewolves looked up, that damn druid. This horn has only one function, that is, to tell all animals to escape from this place as soon as possible. This is the method used by druids to deal with large groups of werewolves. As long as they hear this horn, the animals will flee away from the wilderness. In this way, the werewolves will have no food, which can make it easier for large groups of werewolves to collapse. Not only were wild animals fleeing, but the cattle and sheep kept in the farms also became restless. This was a warning from the Druids, telling the domesticated livestock to stay away as soon as possible. Xuanhuan flew over the farm and shouted to the farmer who was holding a gun and preparing to guard the farm, "Run! Run to the town! Hundreds of werewolves are coming." The farmer knew the elders of the nearby Druid tribe, especially the young Xuanhuan, who was very familiar with him. There were Druids from the Elk tribe in his farm. Xuanhuan said to the Druids of his tribe, "Help the farm evacuate. It may be a wolf tide." Hearing the word wolf tide, others finally realized the seriousness of the problem. Wolf tide, a terrible and long-standing word. Werewolves have a strong ability to survive. Batches of werewolves reproduce in the wilderness and occupy the living space in the wilderness. Werewolves, like farmers, depend on the weather for food, but the food of werewolves is various animals in the wilderness. When natural disasters occur, food in the wilderness decreases, and the wolves, driven by hunger, will rush to human settlements in groups without hesitation. This is a wolf tide, a terrible disaster. The farmer hurriedly shouted, "Don't take anything except money. Open the cowshed and sheepfold. Let the livestock escape." For a while, the wilderness outside Lehman town was full of panic. All living things that can run are running, people are running to Lehman town, and cattle and sheep are running to the area between Fabro City and Lehman town. Utcher returned to his tribe and told all the Druids about the possible wolf tide with a grim look on his face. Utcher said, let's go to Lehman town for shelter. If the werewolves are not completely crazy, they will not attack the human town." No, level 3 Druid, spoke very firmly at this time. "How can we hide in the town at this time? If we all hide, how can there be farms asking for help from Druids in the future? This is our chance. I brought some level 3 blessed seeds, just to let the farmers see the effect of level 3 blessed seeds. If it's just level 3 werewolves, it may not be a wolf tide, but just a large-scale werewolf invasion. Don't panic." Utcher and a group of Druids looked at each other. This is the truth, but if it is really a wolf tide, it will be fatal. The wolf tide is not something these small Druid tribes can resist. ERM said again, "I will fight on the front line and defeat this wave of wolves with level 3 blessed seeds. Let's go. Go and prove the power of blessed seeds and tree arrays. After tonight, farms will line up to buy blessed seeds." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 197. On the road in the middle of the night, Sam got off his horse in front of the Jazz Castle and ran quickly towards the castle. The castle was dark at this time, and no lights were on. Sir Jennifer had left the Jazz Castle a few days ago. The huge Jazz Castle was empty. It was said that Sir Jennifer would soon become Baron Jennifer and would not live here anymore. The road had not been cleaned for several days, and there were weeds flying from other places everywhere. After running a few steps, Sam was out of breath. Thinking of the news he had just received, he was trembling with fear. Sam stood at the door of the castle, his hands were shaking. He opened the half-closed door and the door creaked. Fortunately, there was moonlight shining into the window, and Sam could see the carpet and tables and chairs in the moonlight. Walking in carefully, the whole castle was filled with Sam's heavy breathing due to his hurry. The panting accompanied by the echo made the dark Jazz Castle look like a murder castle in a ghost story. There was no one in the small reception room, so Sam walked in and walked to the large living room of the Jazz Castle. He had been here before, so he knew where the living room was. Could it be in the bedroom on the second floor? People in the town said that Rudolph and Baron Jennifer had something going on. Baron Jennifer never married because her soul was taken away by the wizard Rudolph. Should he go directly to the second floor? Sam was standing at the door of the living room, hesitating whether to go in. Rudolph had said in his letter to the police station that if there was anything, come to the Jazz Castle to find him. A cold wind suddenly appeared at the door of the living room, and the cold wind penetrated Sam's trouser legs, making him shiver. The cold wind also opened the door of the living room. Rudolph lay on the sofa in the living room, looking in the direction of the door. His hand was stretched out, and just now it was the simplest witchcraft that all wind wizards could learn, the wind-raising spell. The witchcraft used was the Gemini witchcraft relative, and the two parts of air moved relative to each other like twins passing by each other, which could create wind. This spell has little attack power, but it is very good for opening doors. Sam saw Rudolph lying on the sofa with his back to the window. Although he knew that Rudolph would not do anything to him, Sam was still very scared to face a level 3 wizard alone. The last level 3 wizard, Bloody Salem, has been the best villain to scare children in Lehman Town until now. If you don't obey, let the wizard Salem take you away, and when you come back, you will only be a skeleton. Sam walked into the living room. Rudolph, the wolf tide is coming. Rudolph stood up from the sofa. In the dark night, Sam saw a pair of cold yellow-brown pupils. Sam was a little scared for a moment. This yellow-brown pupil seemed to have been seen somewhere. Werewolf. It was the pupil of a werewolf, just this yellow-brown color. Rudolph really didn't scare Sam on purpose. He just wanted to see what was happening outside. He turned and looked outside the house. On the road in the distance, there were groups of people rushing towards Lehman Town. They drove carriages, and the carriages were full of family members, old and young. Rudolph shook his head. This year, the autumn harvest in Lehman Town will be ruined by the wolf tide again. Last year it was an insect plague, this year it is a wolf tide. He turned and walked in a certain direction of the castle, and Sam hurried to follow. In a corner of the Jazz Castle, there is a watchtower. Inside the cylindrical watchtower is a long spiral staircase. Rudolph walked up slowly, and the watchtower was filled with the sound of their footsteps, but Sam's breathing became heavier. Sam, don't you usually do physical training? Why is your health so bad? I ran here from the police station in one breath. My physical fitness is very good, because I dare not waste time. Rudolph said earlier, the werewolves of the wolf tide generally do not attack human towns. What are you afraid of? I haven't seen the wolf tide, I have only heard all kinds of tragic stories in the wolf tide. As he stayed with Rudolph for a little longer, Sam gradually stopped being afraid of Rudolph. Rudolph is still the same Rudolph, as if there is no change. Standing on the top of the watchtower, there are concave and convex parapets around. There is no more cover here, and you can see the situation in the distance of Lehman Town. At this time, the lights in Lehman Town are bright, and people are constantly pouring into Lehman Town. These people are looking for hotels, relatives, and renting houses. And the road leading to Lehman Town is also crowded with people. Rudolph looked at the direction of the wilderness in the distance again. The farms near Lehman Town are all Jennifer's. These farms are appointed by Jennifer. These farms have also purchased blessed seeds from the Druid tribe, so there are also grid-shaped tree rows in the farmland. In Rudolph's vision, there are small red dots in the darkness in the distance. They are people on the road. What surprised Rudolph was that some red dots kept disappearing among the people walking at the end. This proves that someone died there. I don't know who it is. He was injured and died on the road only 1 kilometer away from Lehman Town. What Rudolph didn't know was that the place where his vision was focused was the team of the Elk tribe. Or rather, it was the team of the former Elk tribe. The Elk tribe, which originally had more than 30 people, now only had 7 people left. When they were about to enter Lehman Town, 2 druids fell on the road. ERM followed the team at the end of the team in a daze. Although no one reprimanded her in person, he knew that it was he who killed so many people in the elk tribe. She didn't expect that there would be so many level 3 werewolves in the Wolftide. Originally planted level 3 tree guards for the farmer for free on the outskirts of the nearest farm. However, the tree guards grown from the blessed seeds were no match for so many level 3 werewolves. Several level 3 werewolves broke through the tree guards and quickly approached the farm. The poor farmer realized at this time that he was wrong and should not have trusted the druids. The druids said they were the 3 apostles chosen by God, but their abilities were completely unable to fight against the large number of level 3 werewolves. In the end, used the giant spirit technique to transform the war eagles into 2 giant eagles with a wingspan of 15 meters, and then he escaped with the people on the farm and some druids. The elk tribe, which was originally thriving, suffered a heavy blow tonight. Everyone who escaped in the end was also injured. At this time, looked at Lehman Town in the distance and said to Wukiel, "Lehman Town can't stop the Wolftide. So many level 3 werewolves are attacking in an organized manner, proving that there must be level 4 werewolves behind the Wolftide. Lehman Town will be reduced to ruins tonight. We should flee to Fabro City." Wukiel did not comment. Although was a level 3 druid, Wukiel still believed in Lehman Town more. Although Lehman Town is just a small town, it has existed for more than 100 years. There are many powerful people in Lehman Town, and someone will stand up eventually. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 198. Rudolph, do you think the werewolves will attack Lehman? Looking at the black spots looming in the distance, Rudolph said, "No, it shouldn't. Attacking Lehman will lead to the revenge of the Alchemy Council. No, it shouldn't. It's hard to say whether the sentence will or won't." Outside Lehman, the werewolves stopped in front of the tree guards of the Jez farm. The wolf packs were like military formations, displayed outside the farm. At this time, many people on the roofs of many houses in Lehman were looking out. "Rudolph, I have to go." Sam saw that the police station had set up roadblocks outside the town, and he had to go to the new sheriff baby to help. "Go quickly, I didn't expect that old baby would become the sheriff before retiring. I don't know whether I should be happy or sad for him." Sam trotted all the way again, and at the entrance of Lehman, he first saw the embarrassed remnants of the elk tribe. It was really a remnant. Only a few seriously injured druids were left in the elk tribe. The battle between them was so fierce that the elk tribe didn't even have a portion of wolfsbane potion left. Wukiel's shoulder was bitten and collapsed. Blood and pus caused by wolfsbane flowed on his chest, emitting a foul smell. Alma, the originally beautiful female druid, had both arms broken at this time. She was wrapped in long leaves and tied tightly around her waist. The only one who was better was the bard druid, level 3 druid who was very popular in the farm recently. Sam hurriedly said, "Elder Wukiel, I will ask the sheriff to see if the police station still has wolfsbane potion." "Thank you." The thank you was so low that Wukiel himself didn't know if he said it. Sam ran again and ran to Baby's side. "Sheriff, do we still have wolfsbane potion?" Baby, a good warehouse keeper in the police station, suddenly became the sheriff. However, he was still very clear about the inventory of the police station. He looked at the embarrassed elk tribe not far away, thought for a while and said, "Yes, give them, they will play a big role in a while." Soon, Sam sent several doses of wolf poison potion to the elk tribe. Utcher sat by the roadside, took the wolf poison potion on the spot, and waited for the potion to work. Emerged, "Continue on the road after the injury is healed, only escaping to Fabro City is safe." Sam was a little unresponsive. The police station helped these druids heal their injuries. Don't these druids want to help the police station guard Lehman Town? Utcher did not comment. He just said to others, "Rest first, I'll go and talk to the sheriff." Utcher came to Baby and whispered something to Baby. Baby's pupils suddenly contracted, and he heard another bad news. Wukiel saw a level 4 werewolf in the sky. After Wukiel left, Sam also came to Baby's side. Sheriff, what else do we need to do with the roadblocks? Baby shook his head, his mind was not on these roadblocks at all. There are only 7 people in the Lehmantown police station. Even if the 7 of them are busy to death, they can't put up many roadblocks. If the werewolves go crazy and attack Lehmantown, these ridiculous roadblocks will not be able to resist the werewolves. Where are the militia? Are the militia here? Hearing the inquiry of the new sheriff, the patrolman behind hurriedly replied, Sheriff, the militia has been equipped with weapons and will be able to line up soon. After a while, teams of militia came out of Lehmantown. Yesterday they were waiters in restaurants, shoemakers on the roadside, street cleaners, or other people. After the emergency call during the day today, they became the militia of Lehmantown. Each person was given 5 rounds of alchemical bullets and 60 rounds of ordinary bullets, which were all the stocks in Lehmantown. A militiaman couldn't help complaining in the queue, there are so few bullets, what should we do when we run out of them? Another militiaman said, what you should worry about is whether you have the chance to use up these bullets, not what to do after you use them up. This wolf tide was very strange. There was no news of major disasters such as snowstorms or droughts in the wilderness. I don't know why a wolf tide suddenly appeared. This caught Lehmantown off guard. In the past, it was only necessary to beware of wolf tides in disaster years. A wolf howl suddenly spread throughout the suburbs and the entire town. This wolf howl was so loud that everyone in the town could hear it, even those hiding in the basement. Kelida, who stayed behind in the police station, stood on the rooftop and looked out of the town with a telescope. Her palms were sweating because of worry and fear. In the bathhouse, the boss turned off the stove for the first time. There was no need to boil hot water tonight. He no longer needs to add mineral salt to the hot water. In fact, his mineral hot springs are all man-made, not groundwater. Bella prayed silently in the leather workshop. Her husband Mayo also became a militiaman. When he left, Mayo was still passionate and boasted that he would carry the safety of Lehmantown on his shoulders alone. Now hearing such a clear wolf howl, Bella cried while hoping that the police station could protect Mayo. At the entrance of Lehmantown, Baby's face was extremely ugly. He suppressed his urge to breathe deeply. After trying to keep his breathing steady, Baby turned around and said to others, Police station, militia, prepare for battle. This wolf howl was undoubtedly the howl of a level 4 werewolf. If it was a level 4 werewolf, then the werewolves would probably attack Lehmantown desperately under the leadership of the level 4 werewolf. At this time, the deterrence of the Alchemy Council had no effect at all. The gap between the two sides was too big. In Lehmantown, there were less than 200 patrolmen and militia led by level 1 alchemist Baby, and outside Lehmantown was a werewolf tribe with more than 1,500 werewolves led by level 4 werewolves. The patrolmen and militia captains behind him began to act. They found their attack positions, opened the safety of their guns, pulled the bolts, and prepared to fight the invading wolf tide. Baby wanted to curse at this moment. How did he take over such a hot position? How did he become the sheriff? Not only did Baby hear that the wolf howl was from a level 4 werewolf, but other apostles in Lehmantown also heard it. Rudolph stood on the platform of the watchtower of the Jazz Castle, thinking about a question. Is he a match for the level 4 werewolf? Not only Rudolph was thinking about this question, but many people in Lehmantown were thinking about this question. The level 4 werewolf came with more than 1,500 werewolves. Should he turn around and run for his life directly, or turn around and run for his life after hesitation? This is a difficult decision. Unfortunately, ordinary people in Lehmantown don't even have the opportunity to make this choice. They can only wait where they are, waiting for the wolf tide to come like doomsday. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 199. After telling Sheriff Beebe what he saw, Utcher dragged his heavy steps back to the remnants of the elk tribe. The injury is almost healed, but the psychological blow made Utcher depressed. When saw Utcher coming back, he said, "It's time to go. Let's go to Fabro City as soon as possible." Utcher shook his head. He sat next to Elma, lowered his head and said, "Bard Druid, you are a druid who walks around and promotes communication between druid tribes. Let's go. We will stay here." "Are you crazy? If there were only level 3 werewolves, I would stay, but we have all seen level 4 werewolves." Utcher shook his head again. "It is impossible for the residents of Lehman Town to leave. If they leave Lehman Town at this time and scatter in the wilderness, they will have entered the werewolf's home field and will only die faster." Utcher looked at Sheriff Beebe, who was still organizing the defense. "As long as someone is still working hard, we will not give up." Doom looked at the other druids and found that the other druids did not stand up to fiercely oppose Utcher as he imagined. "It's not like you don't understand the Alchemy Council. Even if Fabro City organizes efforts to rescue several surrounding towns, the town of Lehman, which has nothing, will definitely be the last town to be rescued. There is nothing of value here, leaving nothing of value. Come down and wait to die." Doom's answer was nothing but silence. Doom knew that he was in the wrong. If he had not insisted on testing the level 3 blessing seeds in front of everyone, he would not have missed the best opportunity to escape. At this time, some druids from other tribes walked towards Utcher. They gathered together, and Doom was gradually pushed to the edge. These rural druids in remote places have no respect for the people from the big tribes. At this time, no one asked him for his opinion. Utcher and the others were discussing and looking at the people at the police station. One level 1 alchemist, 6 ordinary patrol officers, and a militia of less than 200 people, this is all the strength that the police station can organize now. There are more than 1,500 werewolves outside Lehman Town. Not only were the druids worried, but so were the people in the police station. Baby was a little sad at this time. He had been fishing all his life, but he didn't expect to die on the job. This is not like him. People kept coming to ask him what to do. The druids sent to question him, the militia captains sent to question him, the townspeople sent to question him. How could he know what to do? Baby looked at the representatives from all parties gathered around him and pulled out the revolver from his waist. "I am a pessimistic person. I am definitely going to die today. Everyone in the town will die. There are more than 1,500, maybe 2,000 werewolves, more than the number of people in our town. It is impossible not to die. What I mean is that if you want to die, you should die before the old, weak, women and children, so that you can have peace of mind." The militia captain was the cook of the police station. Regardless of his identity as Chief Baby, he cursed. "Damn it, we're here to listen to you boost morale, and you just say that we're all going to die. How can we keep our morale up?" Baby was furious at this moment. "Then tell me. What should we do with him? Anyway, these people in the police station and these guns will definitely be at the front, and they will die at the front. Even though there are 2,000 werewolves, it would take a few seconds for those beasts to bite us to death." The militia captain didn't say much. "Then I think our militiamen have more people and can hold out for dozens of seconds longer." The militia captain looked at the town behind him and swallowed. He knew that Sheriff Baby was right. "At least I want to die before the old, weak, women and children in the town, so that I can have peace of mind. It is definitely impossible to escape at this time. If everyone in the town leaves the town and enters the wild, they will die even faster than they are now." Everyone else looked at the druids. Unlike the ordinary people in Lehman Town, the druids in the tribe were all apostles. If a druid were to flee, the likelihood of escape would be much higher. Utcher said at this time. The druids are not running away either, since you are all willing to pick up alchemical firearms and fight against the Wolftide. We, the 5 druid tribes, are also willing to coexist and die with Lehmantown. The militia captain breathed a sigh of relief. Look, I just want to hear such beautiful words, how good it is to live and die with the town of Lehman. Baby, I'm not telling you, at least when it comes to saying beautiful words, you are not a qualified police chief. It's all. Before Baby could say the word death, Sam from behind held his mouth shut. Sam felt that he couldn't let Sheriff Baby talk anymore, and it was just right here. After opening Sam's hand, Baby turned to look in the direction of the town. Some people came out of the town. Zach, the biggest beggar, walked out. Zach, if you don't hide in some basement with the beggars, what are you doing here? Faced with Sheriff Baby's inquiry, Zach said, the other beggars have settled down, I'm here to fight with you. You're a skinny beggar, can you handle a gun? Zach nodded seriously, I am also a heretic, a servant of the god of pain, at least a little stronger than ordinary people. Baby was a little surprised. Servant of the god of pain? If I had known about it earlier, the police station should have killed low-level heretics like you. But today was an accident. Since you stood up at this time, I hereby guarantee that as long as the Lamont Town Police Department still exists, you will never be arrested. Low-level heretics are also heretics and should be better than ordinary people, so go to the militia. Zach looked at Baby, then I should thank you for not arresting me. The militia captain hugged Zach, don't listen to Baby's nonsense, he is going to die, he is so scared that he can't speak, come, it's good for you to join the militia, very good. There was another person in the group, which surprised Baby, it was Mrs. Jessica's daughter, Yanilla. I ran away secretly, Yanilla, the tail of the silver snake, I can also kill werewolves. Listening to the little girl raising her fist and pretending to be vicious, Baby was very happy. Okay. You are also Claude's goddaughter. Claude has been promoted and left. He doesn't care about the life and death of Lehmantown. You can even come out on behalf of Claude. I'm not his goddaughter. I hate him. I'm not coming out on his behalf, I'm representing myself. It's the same, Baby said, you are behind the patrol officers of the police station, and you will first supply ammunition for the patrol officers, understand? Yanilla is not even a level 1 silver snake. Her ability is equal to 0 in front of the wolf pack. Therefore, Baby arranged for her to do some simple work. Yanilla nodded and stood obediently behind the patrolman. Although they knew Yanilla was also a heretic, no one could hate Yanilla. Yanilla's eyes alone were enough to make most men feel fond of her. This is the characteristic of the silver snake, always so likable. Mr. Tiz, a dentist in Lehmantown and a level 1 plague carrier, also smiled at Baby with a scalpel in his hand. Baby had known Tiz's identity for a long time, so he didn't say much. Bits and pieces, a dozen level 1 apostles hiding in Lehmantown, all stood up at this time. Baby even saw the owner of the bathhouse, and he had known for a long time that the owner of the bathhouse was a level 1 annihilation priest. These low-level apostles hid so well that even if they died of old age, no one would know that they were heretics, but today, they all stood up, which made Baby feel a little relieved. Baby looked around and asked, where are the winged rats in the red church? A patrolman answered, they flew away earlier. That night, Baby cursed a lot, and he cursed Rudolph, damn it, that useless Rudolph, why didn't he kill a few more vampires? Rudolph was looking at the endless wolf pack on the watchtower, and suddenly sneezed, feeling that the wind on the tower was really strong. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 200. Outside the cemetery, there were howls of wolves one after another. In fact, the cemetery was the closest place to the werewolf. At this time, everyone had forgotten that there was an old man in the cemetery. Maybe they thought the old tomb keeper had fled to the town long ago. Cooper ran back panting, and rushed into the cabin. "Teacher, the entire town of Lehman is fighting against werewolves." "The whole?" "I believe you when you say that there are people fighting against the werewolves, the whole town of Lehman. This kind of thing will never happen in another 10,000 years. There are many people with courage at this time, but there will not be few people who escape." Cooper's mouth went dry as he ran. The entrance to the town is full of police stations and militiamen. The new chief, Baby, is directing people to fight against the wolf tide. Although that kid Baby is a little lazy, he is still good at critical moments. Cooper asked, "What should we do?" Old Gray sat on the chair for a while, then walked to his bed. He lay on the ground and looked for something under the bed. He just lay down with his head down for a few seconds before feeling dizzy. When he raised his head, just raising his head from the ground to a normal height made him even more dizzy. Seeing that Old Gray's face suddenly turned ugly, Cooper quickly said, "Teacher, what are you looking for?" "I'll help you find it." Old Gray was supported by Cooper and sat swaying on the only chair in the room. "This is really old. Even bending down is so difficult." Cooper looked at Old Gray, whose face was full of wrinkles, and felt that he was already very old. Old Gray took a breath and then said, "I have to do this myself, but you can help me get the thick rope." Cooper remembered that there was a thick rope hanging outside the house, and he hurried to get it. The moment he grabbed the thick rope, he realized that it was not a thick rope, but a large bundle of suture thread, used to replace organs or sew up broken corpses. When he came back, he saw Old Gray lying there, throwing out the messy things from under the bed. There was a low sound of heavy objects rubbing on the ground, and Cooper saw Old Gray dragging out a corpse monument from under the bed. There is a line of words engraved vertically on the stone tablet: "Death is another kind of eternal life." Old Gray lifted one end of the steel and it took a lot of effort to lift the steel off the ground. Seeing Old Gray working so hard, Cooper suddenly thought, "You can use corpses to do the work, why do you have to move the stone monument yourself?" Old Gray said, "There are some things that you have to do yourself and cannot let the corpse do it for you, such as confessing to the corpse. Repent." Cooper still doesn't understand why he should confess to the corpse. After the steel was erected, Cooper saw two concave pits on the back of the steel, and there were stone rings in the pits. Cooper handed the suture to Old Gray, who folded several strands of the suture in half and inserted it into the stone ring behind the stone monument. "I'll carry it for you, teacher." Old Gray shook his head and repeated, "There are some things that you have to do yourself and cannot rely on other people's hands, such as confessing to a corpse." Old Gray carried the stone tablet on his back, his legs trembling constantly, and walked out step by step. When Old Gray stepped onto the grass in the cemetery outside the house, his feet made two very deep pits. Cooper followed Old Gray and watched Old Gray walk out of the cemetery step by step. In a small courtyard in Lehman Town, the ground was covered with blood. If someone sees these bloodstains, they won't feel scary, they will only feel dirty, because this is the courtyard of Butcher. Someone came to inform him in the morning that he was now also a militiaman, but Butcher scolded him and left. "Which bastard wrote me in the militia list? Did you ask for my consent? I am a slaughterer of cattle and sheep, not a murderer." After scolding the militia captain and closing the door, Butcher lay on his back on the chopping board and smoked cigarettes one after another until all the cigarettes were gone. "What if you find out that I kill people more efficiently than I kill cows?" Butcher the butcher stood up from his cutting board, wiped his hands on the floral apron in front of him, and spat at his dog. If the sacrifice at the full moon is a werewolf, Butcher will perform a dismemberment of the werewolf every time. The dismembered werewolves were fed to dogs, but Butcher's dogs remained alive. Eat, 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 just know how to eat. After a while, the werewolf will rush in and eat you first. Butcher kicked his big black dog and howled, and the black dog hurriedly fled to the corner of the yard, where it barked at Butcher crazily. After the big black dog left, a long bone underneath was also exposed. This bone was the leg bone of an unknown animal. It was extremely long and the joints were extremely large. However, the black dog's teeth were very hard and chewed many small holes into the bones. After picking up the bones, Butcher walked toward the door. After going out, he locked the door and locked his black dog in the yard. "You stupid dog, don't get bitten to death by a werewolf. Every time I hide a piece of wolf meat for you, you must smell like a werewolf." Butcher carried the bones and walked out of the town. He sighed in his heart. Before he was exposed, the town where he was hiding would be destroyed first. What was this? On the deserted street, Butcher suddenly heard something running wildly. Not wanting to get into trouble, he moved to the side of the street. Not long after, a druid came flying over on a giant bear. Butcher suddenly felt that something was wrong. He was no longer prepared to hide his identity, and he was still afraid of a bird. He swung the bone, and the bone instantly grew in size, turning into a large bone dozens of meters tall, and directly hit the giant bear. The giant bear did not react. In front of the huge joints, its lumbar vertebrae, ribs, leg bones, or other smaller bones were broken, and they were all reduced to bone slag. On his back reacted quickly and jumped to one side in advance. Butcher no longer hid under the corner of the wall, but walked to the middle of the street, looking at the druids who were running in the direction of Fabreau City. "You druids are worthy of being the chosen apostles of God. I don't know what kind of dirty deals there were in the past, the Alchemy Council is dirtier than the sewers he has built." Facing the tall and strong Butcher, ERM's momentum was inherently lower. He stared at the giant who was dirty and swearing with vigilance. The attack just now, which could directly make the bone stick grow instantly, is definitely a giant. In addition, the direction Butcher was walking was the entrance to the wilderness side of the town, so ERM did not speak. At this time, people who go in that direction are at least not afraid of death. "Go away, you soft-footed rabbit who dares not even open your mouth." ERM did not say much and continued to run in the direction of Fabreau City. It is inconvenient to lose the giant bear, but at least it is better than having no life. Butcher held the bone that had shrunk back to its original size in his hand and continued to walk towards the entrance of the town. When Butcher reached the gate of the town, he found that the patrolmen and militiamen at the gate of the town did not dare to breathe, staring blankly at the darkness in the distance, listening to the wolf howling in the darkness. From another road, Old Grey came with a stone tablet on his back. The two of them ignored the sight of others, as if they did not hear the questions of the people around them, and continued to move forward on their own, and walked in front of the crowd. Only Baby signaled others to be quiet and not to disturb the two. "Old Grey, I said this broken alliance is like a joke. In the end, only the two of us came, and the others ran away." Old Grey did not speak, but just looked up at the sky. In the night sky, a pair of bat wings brought a person down quickly. Old Grey spoke at this time. "Rudolph, welcome to join the Lehmantown Giant Alliance. No wonder you didn't tell me the name of the alliance last time. It turns out to be called the Lehmantown Giant Alliance. Old Grey, is this the name you gave it when you were 3 years old?" The Lehmantown Giant Alliance sounds as ridiculous as the 4 heavenly kings of a village or the 5 tigers of a street. However, the backs of these 3 people are not funny at all. Baby and the militia captain and others behind them all breathed a sigh of relief, and the pressure was instantly reduced a lot. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 201. Rudolph, you can still laugh. Is this name so funny? Then you can deal with the level 4 werewolf. Rudolph coughed repeatedly. Did I laugh? I definitely didn't laugh. Butcher also recognized Rudolph. Isn't this the wizard Rudolph who was chased by the vampires and was on the run? Why is he back? Butcher, long time no see. Rudolph did not expect that. Butcher was not simple either. I have a question. Since there are only two of you in the alliance, why not call it the Two Giants of Lehmantown? Make an alliance. Butcher sneered. Humph, there were a few people before, but they ran away, so there are only two of us left. But if you join, 3 people can also be called an alliance. Everyone has his own ambitions, and not everyone wants to live or die with Lehmantown. No longer thinking about useless things, the 3 of them stood on the road, facing the darkness. Behind the 3 of them, Baby wiped the sweat from his head. Claude arranged a backup plan so that the patrol police and militiamen would not really have to deal with nearly 2,000 werewolves. Everyone also looked at the 3 people in front of them strangely. The rickety tomb keeper carrying a tombstone, the butcher carrying a bone, and the former patrol captain fleeing in embarrassment. Judging from Sheriff Baby's expression, it seems that the hope of this battle is pinned on these 3 originally inconspicuous people. Rudolph, I'm not kidding. The main task for a while is to hold down the level 4 werewolf. Holding down the level 4 werewolf mainly depends on you and Butcher. Hearing Old Gray's words, Rudolph was a little scared. Is this a meeting gift for new members of the alliance? Just when Rudolph was about to say something more, he heard Old Gray say, please. Hearing Old Gray's serious tone, Rudolph said nothing more. I can't guarantee how long it will take. Give me a moment, I'll finish dealing with the low-level werewolves as soon as possible, and then I'll go help you and Butcher. If it's so dangerous, then I have to introduce a new friend to you. Rudolph looked in the direction of the Jazz Castle. A vampire flew up from Jazz Castle. Rudolph couldn't let others see that he had released Vanya, so he let Vanya hide in the Jazz Castle early. Soon, Vanya flew to Rudolph's side. The 4 level 3 apostles are all different in momentum. The fat on Butcher's face was trembling to express his disbelief. How can there be such a noble person in the vampire clan? It really opened my eyes. Rudolph just said, this has nothing to do with being noble. It's just that I have a lot of faith and my friends are willing to help me. From beginning to end, Vanya didn't say a word or show any expression, she just stood beside Rudolph. Rudolph felt that it was not worthwhile to give the vampire a reputation at this time, but in order to improve the safety factor, this was the only way. Here we come. Old Gray was the first to step forward, his legs still trembling slightly due to his age. In the distance of the field of vision, the first werewolf broke through the darkness and entered people's field of vision. A level 2 werewolf roared arrogantly and rushed towards Lehmantown. The reason why he is arrogant is because there are nearly 2,000 werewolves behind him, which are his backing. Butcher was very excited. The biggest unsolved mystery in Lehmantown is how much collection Old Gray has. Old Gray was a famous living corpse when he was young. Later he came to Lehmantown and guarded the cemetery for 60 years. Those who were actively hunted, those who were passively delivered to the door, the monthly sacrifices, and the criminals that Old Gray couldn't stand, are all buried in the cemetery. Now you can finally see the entire collection of Old Gray. If it weren't for Old Gray, I wouldn't dare come here. Old Gray stepped forward slowly, suddenly shook his shoulders, and threw the tombstone in front of him. Cooper behind him opened his eyes wide. He also wanted to know how many collections the teacher had, but he suddenly heard Old Gray calling his name. Cooper! Watch carefully. This is the death town of living corpses. Cooper's breathing became rapid, and he didn't know what a death town was. The tombstone was heavily smashed into the ground, and a dazzling aura suddenly erupted from Old Gray's old body. Countless black death auras suddenly flew out from the black tombstone. Instead of flying towards the approaching werewolves, these dead energies suddenly exploded upwards and then plunged into the ground. Facing the tidal wave of werewolves, Butcher was extremely excited. Young men don't bully Scorpios, old men don't mess with living corpses. Here they come. This is a proverb widely spread among the apostles. Never one to bully Scorpio. This Rudolph now understands that Scorpio not only holds grudges, but also has extremely concealed attack methods. Who can guarantee that he will never drink a sip of water in his entire life? As long as you drink water, it is very likely that the Scorpio wizard will slowly stand out from the shadows and say the water is poisonous. Rudolph immediately understood what he meant by not messing with living corpses. As a tomb keeper for 60 years, he sacrifices 12 sacrifices every year, and they are all apostles. This is the basic collection of Old Gray. Together with some other windfalls, even if the Old Gray is a little lazy, it is easy to obtain an average of 12 sacrifices every year. 20 collections. In other words, Old Gray, who has been a gravekeeper for 60 years, has at least 1,200 living corpses, or even more. Old Gray, one man is an army. For a moment, Rudolph even felt that his eyes were a little crowded. More than 1,200 zombies emerged from the ground. These zombies have different shapes, including werewolves with claws, vampires with bat wings, wizards holding magic weapons, bald priests, words holding crystal balls, knights holding broadswords, alchemists holding guns, druids riding bone bears. Old Gray has a big appetite, and he accepts everyone. There is a faint black death aura behind these zombies, which echoes the death aura on the tombstone. It should be the means by which Old Gray controls so many zombies. Butcher's big mouth opened, revealing a mouthful of teeth. Even the knights and alchemists have been taken out, and Old Gray is not going to take care of the aftermath. Damn it! Cool. Let those chosen ones see that I dare not, and there are brave enough to deal with them. The wolf tide is terrible, and Old Gray has put all his assets on it. The entire inventory of a 90-year-old virgin. I've long wanted to see what Old Gray can do. Old Gray is still a virgin. Rudolph, can you learn something serious from Claude? Is it meaningful to care whether Old Gray is a virgin at this time? No point, but I'm curious. Look. There's more, Butcher shouted excitedly. In addition to the 1,200 level 1 and level 2 corpses, the black air around the stone tablet became thicker and thicker. More than a dozen figures walked out of the black air. These figures are all the bodies of level 3 apostles. 15 level 3 collections. Do you see that level 3 knight? That's the father of the previous generation of Viscount, now Viscount Savin. If there are knights, there will be a fight tonight. Rudolph hurriedly looked into the black air. The black air had not yet dissipated, but Rudolph had already seen the body of a level 3 knight riding on a horse. Knights are lunatics on the battlefield, and can have a higher level of ability for a short time. If it is a level 3 knight, it will have the combat power of a level 4 knight. The knight's corpse is weaker, but with many auxiliary forces, it is enough to give the werewolves on the opposite side a headache. I wonder how Viscount Savin felt when he knew his father appeared here. The battle lines of both sides suddenly collided, and the werewolves' howling stopped for a moment, and then the werewolves howled in pain in various ways.